Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Kurhan Kodash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, Great Millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth and none but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called blacks, Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Middle Indians, and you speckled birds. And was a speckled bird, that be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, so-called Chinese person, etc., etc. And I got some videos lined up. Pretty much videos about fuel crisis building up, water crisis building up, food crisis building up. There's a whole bunch of crises. Yep. And basically, they really just plays from the Lord. But anyway, I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the scripture my best abilities. Say whatever God say through the spirit of power. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, the Holy Spirit of Kurhak Kodash. Lord will be on me. Let's get it.
The U.S. just knocked down a port tower in Iran yesterday, and the most important number in that story has nothing to do with the military. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why yesterday's oil shock just cornered the Federal Reserve just 11 days before its next meeting. What that means for your money right now as we speak. Here's what every news channel is probably showing you right now. The U.S. struck 6 bridges in Iran's Hormozgan province yesterday morning, along with power infrastructure and maritime control tower at the port of...
And this video is like 5 days old, so yeah.
Chabahar. Iran retaliated with missiles and drones against U.S. allies, hosting American bases in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Oman, and it claims it also hit U.S. forces in Syria. This is nearly a week of consecutive nightly strikes now, and the human cost is very real. Iranian officials report dozens killed and hundreds wounded over the past week alone. Every mainstream outlet is covering this as a war story. Troop movements, target lists, who struck who overnight. That coverage matters, but it's missing the transmission mechanism that actually hits yours and my portfolio. Here's the crack in the middle of the "it's just a Middle East story" narrative. Brent crude was trading the other day near $88 a barrel on Friday. WTI was above $82. Both benchmarks are up more than 12% this past week alone, including a single-day jump of more than 9% earlier in the week. The biggest one-day move for oil since, well, get this, 2020. And according to ship tracking firm KPLER, tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz fell to 5-week low. Just this past week, just 6 tankers made the crossing one day. And at one point the following morning, there was not a single ship tracked even attempting it. I covered this live in this past week in our live stream. The U.S. has reimposed a naval blockade and is now routing tankers away from Iranian waters along with the Omani, they're pushing them along the Omani coast. That is not a headline. That is a physical supply shock happening in real time. If you like this type of content, please click like and don't forget to subscribe. It's really important to be in the know about this stuff, and this is exactly how you do it. Now, here's the shadow data you know I was going to give you because you know I love it, that connects this war directly to your next paycheck. 2 weeks ago, there was an actual ceasefire holding between the U.S. and Iran, a memorandum of understanding that was signed last month that was supposed to run into mid-August. It broke down earlier this month, and with it went the energy reprieve that had already been quietly doing the Fed's job for it. Here is why that truce mattered so much. June's inflation data came in January. Good early in the middle of last week. CPI fell 0.4% for the month, the largest monthly drop since April of 2020. So far, we have doubled now, just over 50%, my friends. Here's the mechanism behind that number. Oil is not a discretionary expense for a business. A trucking company cannot simply decide to buy diesel. A plastic manufacturer cannot simply stop buying petroleum-based inputs. When crude spikes, it functions like a tax that every company in the supply chain has to pay, whether they want to or not. And that cost gets passed forward into everything from shipping rates to packaging to price of product on the shelf. Goldman Sachs has already run the math on this for us. Their chief U.S. economist has warned us that if crude re-escalates toward $100 a barrel, monthly core inflation could get boosted by 3 to 4 basis points. And the bigger risk isn't even the math. It is that repeated supply shocks like this one can start to unanchor how businesses and consumers expect prices to behave going forward. That's a real problem, and the Fed looks at that very closely. Now, put yourself in that Fed chair where Kevin Warsh sits for 1 second. He walks into the July 28th and 29th meeting holding 2 contradictory stories in his hands at the same time. Story number 1, the best monthly inflation print since 2020. Story number 2, a live military escalation threatening to reverse the exact energy relief that made story 1 possible. Warsh himself already told Congress he's not going to stand up there and call this mission accomplished, thankfully, saying there is still plenty of work to do. This is the same Fed that's already boxed in 2 other fronts. It cannot cut aggressively without risking that sticky supercore services inflation that I talked about in another video this weekend, still running at 3.17% a year.
Alright, anyway, I just let you know I haven't watched any of these videos, so I don't know what to expect, what they gonna say. I just go by the title. And this shit here, it's just a whole bunch of, I don't know. I want to hear bad news. I mean, it's bad news, but I want to hear all that fucking whatever the hell he's saying. I don't want to hear that shit.
Geopolitics, deficits, and supply shocks are all pulling the Fed in different directions at the exact same.
Pretty much, this shit is gonna make things go up. This conflict, of course, if the oil is going up, everything else is gonna go up too.
Moment. And there's a fresh escalation risk sitting right behind this one. Iran has already signaled to its Houthi allies to prepare for a possible closure of the Red Sea shipping route if the U.S. continues striking Iranian power infrastructure, which
they still are.
Exactly what happened yesterday morning. If that second choke point closes on the top of Hormuz, this stops being a regional story and becomes a global shipping story overnight. So what do you actually watch from here? Watch the daily KPLER tanker count through Hormuz.
All right, let's get to the next one.
Playing on iPhone?
Hold on, is this the right one? Yeah.
Now you can play Unlocked on PC with Google Play Games.
They told us a strategic reserve would protect us, that it was a necessary and perfect buffer. But guys, right now, the bank is running dry, really dry. Lake Powell is sitting at, get this, less than 24% capacity. And the federal government is playing a shell game with how much of that water is left. They're moving water from one shrinking reservoir to the next, literally to keep the lights on. This isn't just drought. This is a warning shot for every farm, for every ranch, and for every American household who likes to keep food on their kitchen table. If you think for a moment that what's happening in Lake Powell is only a Western problem, then you're being gaslit. In this video, I'm going to show you the 100-year-old document that created the over-allocation trap that we're currently stuck in, and why the people who are in charge still refuse to fix it. Right now, Lake Powell is roughly 35 feet above the minimum power pool at Glen Canyon Dam. Think about that. Just 35 feet above it. You cross that threshold and the water can no longer reliably or functionally run the dam's turbines. If that happens, the power grid literally loses its most steady heartbeat. But this story isn't just about one reservoir. It's not about just Lake Powell. It's about a system built on promises that it could never deliver. And unfortunately, it's about the producers who are the ones who are stuck sitting there holding the bill. Now, the federal government is calling this shifting around and juggling emergency operations. But what this actually is, guys, is a managed collapse. 100% beeswax candles, guys. If you are somebody who likes burning candles, likes living under natural light, you'll love these candles. They do not pollute the air. They itself just keeps disappearing. Meanwhile, in places like Idaho, farmers and ranchers are fighting over senior and junior water rights. On the high plains, the Ogallala Aquifer is dropping over a foot a year, sometimes more than a foot. And the legal framework around most of what I would call this complete dysfunction was signed in 1922, back when the West had far fewer people, far less demand, a very different climate. Yes, climate changes as a natural phenomenon. And they had far less data centers, far less competitors for the use, like cities. Now that 1922 document is still law, but the problem is that law is colliding with reality in real time. When an Idaho farmer literally has to walk away from a crop, the subsistence that feeds us. When a Colorado or High Plains rancher is forced into selling off half the herd again that feeds us. That doesn't stay out west. That shows up in every single one of your grocery receipts. It shows up in higher feed costs for producers across the entire continent. The Colorado River crisis and the Ogallala Aquifer, they're fronts to the same water war. At this point in time, I don't think anybody can deny this, but water has become the hard limit on American food production. It's a hard limit. The producers are adapting to this with just about every tool they have. Better soil, better genetics, precision farming tools. The question in my mind isn't whether or not Lake Powell is running low, because we all know Lake Powell is running out of water. It's at 25%, less than 25%. The question that I have is, why the heck are we still running a 2026 crisis off of a 1920s law? The people who are growing your food, believe me, they're doing their part. They're doing everything that they possibly can, but they can't rewrite a law from the back of a tractor. Right now, in my opinion, America is starting to face a real crisis, a water crisis. It's a warning. And the big question left is whether or not the people in power actually have what it takes to face it. And whether or not they have what it takes to face it.
Yeah, really, all this shit is leading to that chip implant. Cut off the fuel, cut off the water, cut off the electricity, cut off the daggone food. And there's gonna be a crisis. And hey, in order to fix that crisis, is bring in a chip implant to get people microchip. Pretty much, anyway.
Before the consequences reach every single kitchen table in America. Drop in the comments below, are you starting to see dry land clauses put into leases and farmland around your area? Is your local co-op starting to talk about water cuts in your area? I would think that a lot of you are hearing these conversations right now. I want to hear what's actually going on. No opinions, just documented facts. And then the other question is, what is your current water competition? What's it made up of? Is it made up of cities? Are they pumping the water to other cities? Is rural growth sprawling in your area? Or is your greatest competition technology, AI, data centers? Where's all the water going? Farmers are doing everything they possibly can. Farmers and ranchers are doing everything they possibly can to cut water. They've made leaps and bounds when it comes to how water is being used, when it's being used, the best way to grow their crops. The water keeps running out and the uses keep going up. And in some cases, the uses, massive uses, are going completely unchecked. Meanwhile, an entire power grid could lose its entire heartbeat.
Yep. Lights out for a lot of you Babylonians. And it's not just here in America, it's all over the world. But these videos are just targeting America, Babylon the Great. 2nd Acts chapter 6, verse 24. At the time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. You have division and busting heads, splitting wigs. Because this person got this and they got water, they got electricity. I'm coming to get your shit. That's how it gonna be. And the earth shall stand still in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So there ain't gonna be never your pipeline that running over the water, running water through. It's gonna be dry. Yep. There's another video about water.
Well, you and I may be headed for yet another lockdown too.
And that woman is goddamn 60-something years old, I'm guessing. She wearing clothes like she still got it. Shit.
2.0. And this lockdown, however, may look very different than the lockdown that we all experienced in 2020. What?
Her daughter's clothes, shit.
What am I talking about? Well, the United Nations has declared that the entire globe is now under what they are calling a water bankruptcy. And they are saying that this particular bankruptcy is a major water crisis for the entire globe. So much so that they actually put out an entire report on it, which I'm going to get into some of that report. And they suggest things like rationing if it comes down to it. Obviously, water is a precious source and none of us can survive without it. But I wanted to give you a heads up of something that could potentially land in our direction. Now, as a quick reminder, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you like what you hear here, share this video with everyone you're not hearing from the mainstream media. So please share this video far and wide. With that, let's dive into what on earth is going on. This is on the United Nations UNCCD community's website here. The world is now in water bankruptcy. It goes on to state this, that the UN has declared that the planet has entered an era of global water bankruptcy. This means that humanity has used more water than nature can replace, not only from rivers and rainfalls, but also from underground aquifers, from glaciers and wetlands that took thousands of years to form. In many places, these systems are now damaged beyond recovery. There is no longer a temporary water crisis. This is a permanent shift in how the world's water system works. Think of water like money in a bank. Rain and rivers are our regular income. Groundwater, glaciers, and wetlands are our savings. For years, we have spent both of them. Now the savings are gone, and that's why wells are drying, lakes are shrinking, land is shrinking, and water sources are becoming the normal. It goes on to talk about some of the statistics. Nearly 75% of the world's population lives in a water-stressed country. More than half of the world's large lakes are drying up. Around 70% of major groundwater sources are declining. 2 billion people live in areas where land is shrinking from overpumping water. Huge wetlands that store water naturally have disappeared, and over 30% of glaciers have already been melted. That's not happening now. That is happening right now, not in the future. And then it gets into some of the things that could happen regarding our livestock. But the problem is, all of what they're saying regarding this is absolutely right. But it goes on to conclude this. The world has finished the water savings. We are already living with the consequences. Water scarcity is no longer local, it's global. What dries up today in one place will affect our food, our prices, and stability everywhere tomorrow. So you can see the important parts of this. But I've got a lot to share with you. But before I dive in further, I do have to give a shout out to my sponsor, Noble Gold Investment.
Oh, my goodness.
fund or click the link in the description box below. And don't forget to call them at 1-877-646. The United Nations is declaring about our water, and I specifically want to hone in on some of this stuff. These are real things that are happening on a global scale. We can't deny it. We know right here, I live in the state of Arizona, and I will openly say we have issues with water here. Obviously, we live in a desert, right? Or most of Arizona. And so there are these water wars, if you will, that are already happening between California, Arizona, Colorado, those that feed into that to that area there. So when we take it as a global scale, I do think that this is something rather concerning. Now, there's another article I found here that I want you to check out because there's another quote in it. It's on the Science Times, and it says, water shortage crisis. Are we running out of fresh water? Global data reveals the truth. And here's what they say about freshwater disappearing. The data reveals alarming trends in freshwater depletion. The World Bank reports that the world loses 324 billion cubic, or loses 324 billion cubic meters of freshwater annually, enough to supply 280 million people. Research shows that 75% of the global population now lives in countries that have been losing freshwater resources for at least 22 consecutive years. Therein lies the problem. Scientists have identified 4 continental scale mega drying regions in the northern hemisphere where freshwater is vanishing at unprecedented rates. These drying areas expand at a rate equivalent to twice the size of California every year. And here's the bombshell. Projections indicate that freshwater demand will outstrip supply by 40% by 2030, signaling an imminent tipping point in the freshwater crisis. So these are some predictions that they are having. Now, here's the deal. I think there are solutions to this. One of those, desalination. I believe they do this already in Israel. We need to start something like that in the United States of America. Why the hell aren't we doing it? Well, we know those at the tippy top have a depopulation agenda. It has been a part of their plan for a very long time. But we need to start getting a handle on things because we're talking about if these do come to fruition in our future, we have to have solutions. And right now, there's not a lot of people pushing for them. That is why I am a big advocate for some desalination. Here's the other 2.0 part to think about, right? Is we also have all these AI centers being built. They require massive amounts of water. And I believe many of them use fresh water, thereby taking the freshwater resources from you and I. And I did statistics on this other day, a video I put out, but I think it was like one facility could support 360,000 households or something to that effect. But it was that big of a number to where one AI facility, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of people that can be provided on that water. So it's a very big difference when it comes to all of that. Obviously, we're going to have to play our cards right. But here's the deal. The United Nations put out an article regarding solutions or things that they could do with all of this. And obviously, they've come up with extreme, what I'm going to call lockdowns.
Yeah, restrictions, rationing. Yeah. And the wicked bear fruit of people more. Or, you know what I'm saying. The Esau, Amalek, they got the whole world, and now they went, hey man, it's all this shit leading to the chip implant.
For people globally in the event of that we're short on water. And there could end up being water wars.
They about to bring hell to you people, especially mainly you Israelites. And the only way to get this, the strength to endure is through Yahweh Shema Shah. Shit, these niggas about to come down on major pain is coming, major suffering is coming. Shit.
I believe kind of there is something mentioned like that in the Bible when waters turn to blood and all of that when you've read the Bible. But this is the United Nations University. They kind of put this out. Global water bankruptcy, living beyond our hydraulical means in the post-crisis era. And it shows a guy here. Now, I've scanned through some of this. They've got some charts on here, and you can see water conflicts over the years. You can see those have risen through 2024. And this is a newer document, by the way. I believe it was published this year. They have it somewhere else, but it's 2026. Oh yeah, 2026. But anyway, there's that. And then here's overall water risk across the globe. You can see some of the Africa there is one of the biggest concerns, and some there in the Middle East. So we can see, Lucy, we've got some issues with our water. Now, in this document, I actually went through and said, okay, what are they suggesting that we do, right? And here is some of the
get a microchip.
Things that were suggested. They want us to officially recognize water bankruptcy, and that hasn't happened at this point. Number two, and a lot of the
but why is this? How is this happening? Need to be looking at. I mean, I don't know how to say it, but you gotta recognize water bankruptcy. You need to recognize who's the wicked that rule the world. See, the more wicked shit going on in this planet, the more punishment you people gonna get. Yo, I gotta fix that. I don't know what the hell's going on with this dog.
The times too with this stuff, before I even get on it, a lot of these globalists, they do these things in order to have power trips and to control more. So we have to keep that in mind with all of this
The dog getting old, man. Shit.
as well.
It's just her health. It's something I'm noticing, little wet spots on the ground. I'm like, I guess coming from her, I don't know, her vaginal area. And I gotta make sure that I'm probably gonna have to put a damn diaper on her butt. Probably.
I think we do have to worry about the water in the end, but I think we need to start pushing them in directions that can help humanity, not hurt humanity, and control it. Versus, say, getting more desalination and things like that, or collecting rainwater and cleaning the rainwater. I think there are things that we can do regarding that as a country, as a globe. But instead of doing things like that, they're going to lean more towards locking you down, restricting you, and telling you.
Yeah, catching rainwater, they find that shit illegal. Boy. And in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, that you can't even catch rainwater in certain cities, maybe states or counties, whatever. What kind of fucking fuckboy shit is that? That's some bitch ass nigga shit. And then come on, man, Esau, that nigga, that's a nigger, man. The so-called white man's a damn nigger. Shit, the baby dick sucking Jewish faggot fucker, that's a nigger. And that's, hey man, the earth is given to the hand. I am so fucking sick and tired of this fucking place and these motherfuckers, man. But don't forget that these are the plagues of the Lord. Yep. These are the plagues of the Lord, and the Lord is using Esau as a weapon to punish the shit out of you proud ass people worldwide or even here in America. Let me get the second, not second Esdras. Ecclesiasticus chapter 29 verse 21. The chief thing for life is water, and without water you won't have bread, clothing, or a house to cover shame. Yeah, you won't have a house to cover shame without water, because you need water for a lot of things. Heck yeah. But the chief thing, the point of me reading this, the chief thing of water, the chief thing of life is water. And water is everything. It's critical. Yep. And I hope it rains here. You have more of a reason or excuse for me not to go and cut yards today. I just gonna take today off. I'm just like, fuck it. I don't even want to bother. I worked like 4 days straight, and I said, fuck it. I need a time off to heal. Fuck these people. I need to go out and do a walk and talk or a Highways Hedge video, walk and talk sometime today, Lord willing. They said it's supposed to rain like morning, but it be pushing back to evening and all that shit. They'll say 1 o'clock, then say 2 o'clock, then say 3 o'clock, then back to 1 o'clock rain. Damn, make up your mind. I'm just gonna take the day off. I'm already here. I would have been already left the house and going to cut somebody's yard by now. But fuck that. I'm just gonna stay here for the moment. If you want to watch the rest of this video, be my guest. There go the title of the video. There go the channel. Let's get to the next one. Yeah, without water, shit, they're gonna create famine, increase the famine. Then you might have water, but the water ain't treated, ain't clean. It's got parasites in it. It's got pestilence in the water. Yeah.
Thousands of Americans have been suffering from explosive diarrhea, cramps, and weeks of misery. The CDC is studying over 1,645 lab-confirmed cases of cyclospora, with over 5,100 additional cases across 34 states. Now, luckily from this explosive diarrhea outbreak, there have been no deaths, but there have been over 140 hospitalizations. And while a lot of reports have focused on lettuces and salad greens, recently it's kind of zeroed in on shredded iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farm.
I mean, ain't that some that your lettuce that you eat supposed to help with your fiber, give you fiber in your diet to break up whatever's in your gut. But whatever's the parasites are on that shit is giving you diarrhea. Anyway,
this lettuce was sourced from Mexico and sold to Taco Bell locations across the United States. But I have a different question about all this. Why does every single outbreak become an excuse to push more AI surveillance and control? Why isn't the focus on instead fixing our dependence of importing food from places like Mexico. American food is slowly disappearing. It's been
Look, what happened? All those people they were firing. I don't know if it was like FDA or food inspection people. They firing those folks, and now look at your food now. It's all jacked, getting people jacked up.
disappearing for years. And part of that story focuses in on water policy. Today I want to dig into this with the receipts. Now, if you watched last week's video on this, you know that the human cost is real. It may sound funny to talk about explosive diarrhea, but what people are going through is real. It's actually happening to thousands. But right on cue, experts like Dr. Sylvain Carboy, is that how you say his name? Carboy? Anyway, he dropped a very interesting column. It's titled Food Safety Needs an AI Upgrade. The column is basically a great diagnosis on vague warnings that are hurting small farmers. His solution is AI chatbots, building personalized responses to investigators, shoppers, building AI-ready platforms across the entire industry, making more small farmers have to go through more hoops to put their food on the market. It sounds pretty slick, but while they're trying to sell you on this tech, they're missing, or should I say, ignoring the bigger picture to what's happening here. That is our reliance on importing produce from very complex global supply chains. Yanasa TV keeps the information flowing, but we need your help in keeping it up. Shop at Yanasa Trading Co. and support this channel. We have a full line of bison tallow products now back in stock. Check it out at Yanasa Trading Co. These are made by friends that we have made while filming the native documentary. For our candle collection, we've also added an entire lineup of fall candles. She Deserves One C has over 1,645 lab-confirmed cases of explosive diarrhea. Cyclospora. There have been over 140 hospitalizations. For Michigan officials, it's all about the lettuce and the salad greens. Reports are now linking Taylor Farm shredded iceberg lettuce out of Mexico, imported to your favorite local restaurant, Taco Bell. And at this point in time, Taco Bell has voluntarily removed those items. So it's safe to eat again at Taco Bell if you enjoy fake food. If you can even say fake food. Safe. Of course, Taylor Farms does have history here. In 2013, Taylor Farms had a similar Cyclospora outbreak tied to their Mexican operations. They've even had recent E. coli issues with onions. Those onions were sent to McDonald's. So guys, this isn't one bad batch. This is the system. Cyclospora loves fresh produce when eaten raw. Long supply chains coming up from Mexico and well beyond Mexico make traceback slow and contamination risks actually pretty high. It comes from irrigation water, worker samples.
And somebody will probably say, well, we need to start growing our food in America. Nigga, who gonna pick that shit? Where you gonna get the water from? They already got droughts in certain places, a whole lot of places in America, and you ain't got nobody picking that shit. Ain't nobody out there serving the damn food, or all that shit. Man, you cut that shit out. Anyway,
sanitation, processing. By the time cases spike and anybody knows about it, these products are long gone from the shelves. Vague warnings that come out tank sales for U.S. growers who had nothing to do with it. Now, with all this push for AI surveillance,
that's a strange. Like, how the hell that's got something to do with AI?
It's the dynamic that they simply will not emphasize. American-grown, homegrown produce has declined substantially over the years. Why is that? Water, policy, economics. In places like California, where Taylor Farms happens to be located, it's a produce powerhouse that they're importing across the border from Mexico. Droughts, a lot of overbearing regulations, and water restrictions have hit California growers pretty hard over the years. Farmers in the West are facing water cutbacks and overregulation, while the imports just flow in across the border. Explosive diarrhea and all. You see these stories pop up over and over again across the United States, Arizona, Idaho, you name it. Now on this channel, we've covered these water rights battles. We've covered government overreach on ranches and farms, and we've talked a lot about how these things squeeze domestic production. The result, guys, is heavier reliance on imports and over 140 people hospitalized with explosive diarrhea. Now, Mexico supplies massive amounts of lettuce, berries, herbs, exactly the items that are tied to Cyclospora outbreaks regularly. It's cheaper in many ways for the big buyers, but the risk travels with those trucks, my friends. These places have different standards, longer supply chains that create harder oversight. Yet our farmers here in the U.S. are regulated out of existence. U.S. small and mid-sized growers, the backbone of resilient local food get squeezed by compliance costs, market consolidation, and these reoccurring panics that don't distinguish between where the food came from. One contaminated Mexican-sourced shipment can crater confidence in the entire category. How many of you stopped eating lettuce last week? And then enter the AI agenda. Instead of addressing things like import dependence, concentrated supply chains, or figuring out ways to bolster domestic production again, the push that we've seen out of all this is for smarter communication tech, or regulations and things that farmers have to keep up with. They want AI that can tell you in real time on your smartphone that spinach is safe. They want some dynamic platforms that can help distinguish what food items are safe and what food items are under investigation. No, I'm not against better tools, right? Traceability and rapid detection, they actually do matter in our food supply chain. But when these outbreaks expose fragility in the industry model, the industrial import model, the answer isn't more algorithms deciding what you hear. The answer is rebuilding resilience here at home. AI is not going to fix contaminated irrigation water abroad. It won't restore water rights for U.S. farmers. And another problem with this is that it risks centralizing more control over our supply chains, our food supply chains.
Not even just that, but governing you.
More control over what you eat, data on what you
eat. Control what you eat. You only have 400 credit points. You need to be at 700 to be able to eat a carrot. Shit. Or cucumber. Or potato. But you got 400 points, so you got to eat some bugs. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Anyway.
Buy data on what you ask, all feeding the same systems that seem to struggle on a daily basis with transparency. But guys, soil health, diversity, and good stewardship actually reduce the risks naturally. Here at UNASA TV, we document these things because it's what works. And because, frankly, I think Americans deserve food systems that don't collapse into panic every single summer. This video isn't anti-technology. What I'm talking about here is pro-resilience. Support your local farm.
All right, let's get to the next one. Well, famine is coming. Lack of bread, lack of water, lack of electricity, and lack of fuel. It's going to be crazy out here. More about food.
My friends, welcome. They're coming for the
water too. Shit, I didn't know that. What this is? They're coming for your water. Yeah.
water. The United Nations has declared that the world has entered an era of global water bankruptcy. No longer a crisis situation which could be addressed with temporary emergency measures. They say now we have entered a post-crisis moment, which is now a permanent, lasting depletion of natural resources, which demands global governance, real-time monitoring at all water sources and all water usage across the entire world, enforceable limitations on that usage, and yes, they're open about this, a complete restructuring of water rights. So that water you thought you owned, that's no longer the case. And that's what they mean when they say, for much of the world, normal is gone. That normal baseline, the history, the rights that were purchased with the land, the irrigation district that was enabling people to farm, no, all of that's being put away. We are now bankrupt and handing control, ceding control over to the United Nations. We're in receivership, and they're taking control over it to manage what's left of the water supply. The language is even pretty clear about what's going on here. The United Nations has issued a report this year, just as at the same time they and the World Economic Forum are talking about the looming food crisis and why we have to now start using genetically engineered crops and so forth. And by the way, these two things very much tie together. When they say we need climate resilient crops and smart irrigation, it is very tightly aligned with this global water bankruptcy agenda. We'll see that as we talk about it. Their definition of global water bankruptcy, as I said, is a permanent condition. It's not one we can recover from. The crises, maybe we could have managed better, but hey, it's water under the bridge at this point. We didn't. And now we're in bankruptcy, where no matter what we do, the natural replenishment rate of water resources is insufficient to catch up with the damage that we've already done. That's what they're trying to say here. It's too late for us. So whatever we've done in the past has to be shoved aside, and control has to be taken, centralized, and then enforced. In fact, just this week, the United Nations is hosting in New York City a conference about water. It's a side conference in preparation for their big water conference that's happening in December of this year. The title of this current side conference is From Global Water Bankruptcy to Implementation, Regional Solutions and Opportunities to Accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals, Leaving No One Behind. It's quite the title, but beyond stating the bankruptcy, they say we're now moving right ahead into implementation of this agenda. We need the real-time monitoring, we need the enforceable limits, we need to restructure water rights, we need to take your water right now. And they don't even mince words. They say that this crisis is, for them, a great opportunity to accelerate their own agendas, the Sustainable Development Goals.
So I thought this was just going to be about America. This is global shit. Well, whatever.
And then those same words
And
leaving.
I didn't even know this video going to be talking about just water still. Be talking about food, but anyway.
No one behind. We've heard that as well from the FAO recently when they said it's a food crisis and we have to get genetically engineered crops into the ground everywhere, including in developing countries. We'll pay for it. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also offered to pay for it for smallholder farms here and there where they don't have the money because we want to leave no one behind, which of course means we want control of everything. We're not going to let anyone fall through the cracks here. Now, in this 2026 report, there are a few key phrases which I think are worth taking a look at. So they call for transparent accounting and enforceable limits on water use, protection of water-related natural capital, equity-focused transitions that protect vulnerable groups like women and indigenous communities, and a rebalancing of demand, again, openly saying a restructuring of water rights, and then a reorienting of infrastructure, technology, finance, and trade around this new water infrastructure. So let's talk briefly about each, and then we'll dig into that infrastructure. Transparent water accounting is absolutely, clearly, a key requirement set out in the report. If you don't know what's going on, you can't be expected to fix the crisis or enforce limitations. So they need, and are establishing, actively, centralized tracking of every drop of water on Earth. Every sink, every source, everything. Explicitly described in the reports as we're going to integrate satellite observation with groundwater scans.
How the fuck they gonna do? Anyway, these niggas, they want to be gods, man. They want to control everything, from the water to how much you breathing air, and damn, bro, this is what happens when you allow a devil to rule the world. Shit.
From helicopters and so forth, and then we're going to use metering and AI models on that usage information to drive real-time alerts on who's using what and how we can.
Goodness fucking gracious, bro. We gotta get the fuck out of here. This nigga caused the problem. Now he want to try to control. He want to, yeah, it's oh my goodness.
Stop them. They don't talk about who's going to own the data or how that process is going to look. It's just understood that they need a surveillance infrastructure in order to ration this precious natural resource. Now, the enforceable limits part obviously implies that there's going to be new layers of bureaucracy and regulation and so forth that are created to set these limitations, to issue permits, to restructure the water rights, and then ultimately to restrict your ability to use water. Independent farmers and homesteaders and just normal citizens are obviously going to be left out to dry, and I'm sure data centers and big corporate users will be given a pass. Specifically, in fact, they say they'll be allowed to purchase water credits, which allow them to continue to
The madness of Esau, Amalek.
consume vast amounts.
Hell. I was saying they want to be like, they got to have control over everything, man. That's why people that, hey man, it's a blessing to get this truth, man, and have hope in someone, in someone you haven't seen, and people be like, I don't believe in a higher power. Well, what the fuck how the hell you gonna get out of this fucking shit? Is it gonna be you? A lot of these people don't realize this shit coming down the pipe. And it ain't damn sure ain't water. It's trouble. It's trouble. It's coming down the pipe. And these niggas about to, they about to fuck you people up, bro. It's awesome players from the Lord using these devils to do what they do, but man, I be like, how you think you gonna be able to get through all this shit? You got to get through this shit through the Lord, man. The Lord the one that got to get you. How about Shemal Shah got to be the one to get you through this stuff, to give you the strength to endure. What you gonna do it yourself, nigga? Please. Shit, hey man, your ass gonna die in this bitch without the Lord, man. Some of us will die even if you believe in the Lord, but I mean, damn, you gotta have somebody to believe in. It gotta be Yahweh Shemal Shah, man, because this devil here is we been ruled by the true nigger.
Lots of more water.
I hope what I'm saying makes sense. This motherfucker is a nigger.
Than we are. without that affecting their ESG scores. Right? They say protection of water-related natural capital. This is just another way to kick people off of wetlands and anywhere that they decide this is actually now a precious water resource.
Man, you tell, man, come on, bro. The so-called white man, them Jew motherfuckers, y'all ain't nothing but a bunch of fucking niggers. Look at this shit. I can't help myself, bro. And I'm not talking about the elite of the Edomites, Amalek, but still low level, higher levels, you still niggers. But this is what these motherfuckers want to do. It's all about that chip implant, control everything, and have you microchip.
Area. This jives completely with one of those SDGs that was the 30 and 30 plan, 30 by 30 plan, to set aside 30% of the land and 30% of the water for rewilding and for nature alone, and herd humanity into the smart cities. Now, again, they say rebalancing demand and restructuring.
Yeah, give your ass microchip while you in that smart city.
Water rights. That could not be any more clear about the fact that whatever the existing system is, whatever water rights you thought you had on your farm, or that you picked up when you purchased your homestead, or when you drilled your own private well, that's no longer yours. Right? California has already been trying to.
Damn. Yeah, you will own enough and be happy. And these the bugs, nigga. Shit.
Put meters
bugs need water.
On private wells for some time, so this is not
I don't think they're gonna give bugs any water.
A surprise out of nowhere. It's just that they're now creating that crisis scenario, post-crisis scenario, to actually move it all forward at the same time. And if you thought you had water rights and you start to fight for them, you don't want to give them up, well, you're obviously a racist, and you don't want these equity-focused transitions for vulnerable groups to move forward. You're so bigoted, right? It's all dressed up. This is totally the language of control, but dressed up in environmentalism and sustainability and social justice language. So
it's all bullshit. Anyway. Least say should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his device. It's all about a damn chip implant. They about to starve and dry you people up. Boy. How much time I got? Yeah, fuck these people. I ain't cutting that yard today. 41 minutes.
Now that we've taken a look at some of those terms that they threw away in their report, I wanted to mention that the World Economic Forum has estimated the cost of the new infrastructure needed for this water bankruptcy management phase to exceed 6.5 trillion euros. That's obviously a lot of money, and in the panel discussions that the WEF and the UN are having on a regular basis, most of their experts are very clearly saying, I have no idea where that money's going to come from, but they're all quick to point.
What you think? Goddamn print that shit.
Now,
digital currency. They just make the numbers. And people will follow along with working for zeros and ones. Anyway, goodness gracious. Boy, you people are fucking doomed. Yeah, hey man, that's why this shit can't continue on. No flesh be saved if this shit continues on, bro. That's why we hoping and praying and how can I say? We praying and you're hoping and Yahweh Shah get us out of here, kick this devil out of power, man. And you dumbass Israelites that like, there ain't no such thing as a God, no higher power. Well, fucking deal with the shit that's coming down the pipe, nigga. Shit, let's see how you gonna handle that shit, nigga. While the true believers of Yahweh Shah, well, hey man, we pray we stay locked in, man. Cause this devil's a nigger, bruh. He all about destroying everything, being a selfish, hoggish ass, fucking dumb crackle. Goodness fucking gracious. Good God damn. And without water, there's they don't have no food to grow, and that's a food crisis. I don't know what this video about, but I'm gonna play this. I can't help but, boy, I fucking hate this world so much. Let's get to the next one.
The heat and drought caused by the climate crisis is seriously affecting food yield.
No climate crisis. It's the players of Yahweh Shah, monkey ass nigga.
Crucial crops already. If you just look at maize, wheat and soybeans, the loss of yields are costing $20 billion a year, that's already, and a new analysis suggests that this could rise eightfold to more than $160 billion a year by 2100, unless of course we slash emissions.
We've already seen a big increase in food prices over the last few years, and there's been a sort of shifting baseline, hasn't there, because they've gone up, and gradually a lot of us get used to it. Well, of course, others reluctantly, but of course people are also quietly pushed into food poverty as well. And we've been saying in recent podcasts, this is the coolest summer we're ever going to have or for the rest of our lives. Similarly, these are the cheapest food prices from now on.
Yeah, so unless we seriously change the way we produce our food, we are in big trouble. And this comes on top of that report by the UK Joint Security Agency that was warning of food shortages and ecosystem collapse in the UK within 5 years. That report was suppressed and it's been redacted. So there's that going on as well. From New Scientist, this is The World, the Universe and Us. I'm Dr. Rowan Hooper.
And I'm Dr. Penny Sarche. We're joined today by reporter Michael LePage. Michael, you've been looking at a recent study that forecasts future crop losses.
Yeah, so this is a study that's just looking at extreme heat and drought and for just 3 crops. Exactly the kind of thing that we've got going on in Europe at the moment, and obviously this is going to have a big effect on sort of lots of crops and also livestock. By the way, there was a report of 3 million chickens dying in France in the June heat wave. So this, and this is a huge problem for farmers because how do you deal with it? But anyway, so going back to this study, they're predicting that we're already losing $20 billion a year, and that this is going to rise to that 160 billion figure. And of course, the big farming nations are going to have the biggest losses in terms of the amounts of money. But they make the point that there are countries still where most people are actually involved in farming, and so even though in sort of financial terms the losses will be smaller there, the impacts on those countries will be much greater because so many people still work in farming and depend on that income. And so in these places we could have social unrest and increased migration and all these other problems as well.
So it would be countries then like America, the US, where they maybe see the largest economic loss because they produce so much food, but you're saying it's in the countries where more people are involved in farming, that maybe there's a degree of subsistence farming as well where it actually has the highest human cost.
Exactly. So I think in the US it's something like less than 1% of people work in farming. So even if there's a big hit to the farming sector, the rest of the economy is largely fine. But in countries like Niger and Africa, 70% of the population are sort of working directly in farming. So if they have a sort of fall in their income, that affects just about everyone in the country.
So the researchers involved in this study say, well, they point to various things we could do that we'll get onto. One thing I was thinking is, how much room is there to adapt what farmers are already doing in poor countries, and especially if you think in poor African countries like you just mentioned, they're already growing crops that they can grow in that extreme environment or water stressed environment, very hot. How much leeway is there to change what they're doing and squeeze more out of the system?
I mean, it is possible. The problem is, finding the right crops and getting them to people and sort of planting them at the right times, changing where people have been sort of doing traditional farming over generations, getting any kind of change is very difficult. But this is not just a problem for poorer farmers. On previous stories, I've spoken to researchers who say even farmers in rich countries are already failing to adapt and failing to sort of prepare for what's coming. So, and they've got all the advantages of the money and the sort of knowledge and the expertise to actually achieve this.
So to go back to how they calculated this prediction of an 8-fold increase in losses, they were in this study, they were just looking at 3 of our biggest crops. So that was maize, wheat and soy?
That's right, yes. And basically they looked at historical data. So they looked from 1974 to 2004 and they correlated that with extreme heat and drought and worked out when you get extreme heat or drought or both, how much are those losses in terms of both the yields and then the subsequent losses in terms of how much less the farmers actually get from selling that. And so they then extrapolated that first to the period 2007 to 2019 to calculate that 20 billion figure a year, that's the current losses, and then they used sort of projections of future climate to estimate what's going to be coming up to 2100. And so obviously that figure of 160 billion a year is for a high emission scenario. In the lower emission scenario, the damages were much lower.
Well, it doesn't sound like that much to me. I mean, 160 billion is obviously a lot, but it could be worse.
So in percentage terms, this is up to 35% decrease in yields, which equates into what 2 billion people eat a year at the moment.
I thought they said 3.5%.
3.5% is the figure for up to 2019.
Okay, so now we're talking. Yeah, because that was around the figure that led to the Arab Spring revolt and also the French Revolution. 1788 price rise there, that led to revolution. There was a arguably good outcome to that in some ways. But what I'm saying is that we're talking about things that have major societal impact and even collapse.
Exactly, and it's worth pointing out, this study, it's just looking at the money that farmers get, and it's basing that largely on current prices, but obviously as shortages kick in, those prices are going to go up, and then that has there are all sorts of knock-on effects from this that the study isn't even attempting to estimate, so it's just, it's quite limited.
Yeah, and it's just 3 crops.
So anyway, food crisis is building. Not because no climate crisis. That is the pledge of the Lord. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm just playing as much videos as I can to show you the how you say, sources showing you this is real and it's getting real. And who's bringing it? Yahweh Shema Bashah. Ain't no fucking climate change bringing it. It's Yahweh Shema Bashah. And he's using these damn devils to bring it. And shoot. And all the Lord wants you to do is repent and build your faith up and believe in them, that they are your power. And yeah, and try to keep, hey man, pray the Lord keep dealing with you. Man, it's gonna get bad out here. Ezekiel chapter 5 verse 16, when I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you. And people that be like, God is love, Jeebus. Like, shut the fuck up. It ain't Jeebus, nigga. It's Yahweh Shah. And who you even call God or title, his name is Yahweh. They got names. And the damn sure ain't Jeebus or Jehovah, because the letter J didn't exist until the 1600, nigga. Shit, the English language didn't exist until shit. I don't know once it got finalized. But nobody was speaking no English back in that back in the times of biblical times. No. Nobody was saying no A, B, C, D, E, F, G, none of that shit. It didn't sound like that. No. Anyway, and those characters never existed. And I will send, where I left off at, and which I will send to destroy you, and will increase the famine upon you, and break your staff of bread. So many ways to break staff of bread is, the most critical thing to break the staff of bread is water. And you got fuel to deliver stuff, the energy to produce the daggone, the food, and you got to have a machine to be able to pick wheat and such. A machine running off of diesel fuel to pick the wheat, and all that shit processed. Now everything works together as one, but now when you take one thing out, it ain't working well. You take something else out, it ain't gonna work well. Pretty much, yeah. It's leading to crisis, chaos, and shit. Well, you want to be prayed up, man, when this shit go down. That woman looked like, hold on, there was a picture. Whatever. There was a woman up there. She was from Venezuela. She looked like the woman at that bank at my bank. She works at this bank. I do banking. But anyway. What else I got to say? Let me wrap it up with this one scripture right here. Man, people don't understand the severity of what's about to go down, and what's building up, and then it's gonna go down and get serious. They don't understand it. It's like every time there's like global wars, like World War I, World War II, there's always gonna be pestilence, crisis with food, water, all this shit, and the natural disasters increasing. But right now, these people are fucking stupid. They laugh at this stuff. And once it affects them, they ain't laughing now. When you telling them this stuff, they laugh about it. Oh my good thing. That's why I say be thankful and grateful. You got this truth, and the Lord is allowing you to get the opportunity to build up a spiritual mental relationship. Cause look, and some of you people that's watching these videos, either you just watch them for entertainment or to be informed, but this ain't really for, this is to warn my people, and if whatever. Anyway, I'm just through this shit. I'm tired. 2nd Ezra chapter 16 verse 37. I hate when I'm trying to start saying something and then I have to cut off because then I lost of words. But anyway, 2nd Ezra chapter 16 verse 37. Behold, the pledge draw nigh, and are not slack. As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compares to womb. Which pains? When the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the pledge be slack to come upon the earth. The world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. So this is going to be happening north, south, east, and west. I thought it was going to be tough. Most of the videos I was playing was related to America, Babylon Great, but then they started going into global stuff. Yeah, because it ain't just going to affect America. It's going to affect all over the whole world. Wherever an Israelite be, nigga, you going to be in the midst of this shit. Yeah, famine and lack of water, lack of food, lack of fuel, electricity, whatever, and they're not offering you. They gonna want to force you into getting a chip implant so you can be their bitch. And the best thing you need to do is seek the Lord, so you won't be Esau's bitch. No, seek the Lord, man. Serve the Lord. Pray the Lord save you from all this destruction, or protect you and save you from all this destruction. Cause it's going down. And ain't no hey man, there ain't no hope. And they talk God in the Bible was a good God. He's nice. Well, you gonna see how nice his ass gonna be. Nah, man, I don't wanna say ass, but you gonna see how nice the Lord gonna be. Shit, he gonna be jacking people up. Anyway, I'm done. I don't want to keep talking, make this video too long. Well, anyway, seek the Lord by seeking his prophets and take heed to what to say, and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah by praying Yahweh Shema Shah, praising Yahweh Shema Shah, worship Yahweh Shema Shah, fearing Yahweh Shema Shah, and repenting Yahweh Shema Shah. To all the men out there pushing this truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power of Yahweh Shema Shah, keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust strong, Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust strong, Yahweh Shema Shah. Stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order, Yahweh Shema Shah. Peace and blessings to the whole full lake, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Shalom.